This is Schema Spider, a web-based IDE for SQL Server, written entirely in SQL and capable of turbocharging standard SQL development tasks by presenting every object in the database on screen at once and easily accessible to the developer. We can see all of the tables and the views and the procedures and the functions in the database. We can look at them easily. With a single click, we can edit them. We edit a function alongside a copy of itself. I'll add a comment. We're on the script. The function is updated, and if we look at it again, you'll see that comment has, sure enough, been added to the script. Schema Spider is capable of filtering the schema, so now that we have an extended schema with multiple parts and an extra, instead of DBL, we now have a sub-schema within the schema. Suppose we want to filter on the person sub-schema or perhaps on the sales sub-schema. I'll go ahead and enter sales and connect again, and now it will return only the objects that either reference the sales sub-schema within the text of procedures, functions, and triggers, or actually have a table or a view that connects to sales. And it's about to get a lot smaller. Sure enough, we've only got 7 views, 1 procedure, and only 52 keys. Still a lot of keys for sales. I'm going to go ahead and run some SQL from the bottom window. And I get back a record set with the data in it. Got 6 of these little query windows down here, and I've populated a second one with some SQL already. I'll get some of the databases and the view for sys databases. It's a legacy view that's still presented and very useful on SQL Server. And also looking at the configuration. Instead of using surface area to configure SQL Server, we can use some of the stored procedures and see that we're configured for a variety of functions, a variety of extra functionality in SQL Server has been turned on and configured in this SQL Server. Because this IDE is written entirely in SQL, it's also very useful for providing SQL and SQL functionality that is very useful in the enterprise. Schema splitting joins, the ability to connect from disparate data sources to one another and relationally pull information. I'll go ahead and connect to the Schema Spider IDE. It's actually a database on SQL Server, and only about 12 procedures comprise the SQL Server IDE. One of which is just very interesting is a XML parser. So, and I'm going to go ahead. You can see this this procedure parses XML. I'll go ahead and give it an example. We can run it with this example in line. Straight from the code, we'll highlight it. We'll run the example, and we get back a parsed XML data set. There's an object in SQL Server that does that, but it's also nice to have one built in SQL that we can edit and reuse the code from. The same goes for some of the other stored procedures. All the procedures that create an IDE are very powerful. If we could drill into the code for SQL Server Management Studio and it was written in SQL and we could reuse that SQL, we'd have a lot of powerful functionality for the enterprise. This is an IDE that doesn't just turbocharge standard development tasks on SQL Server by preventing a flat view where we can see everything at once, but it lets us go ahead and connect to and edit all of the objects in any SQL Server anywhere in the enterprise or anywhere in the world. I'm going to go ahead and connect back to the AdventureWorks database again and look at a few procedures on it. One thing we can do is dock, which is nice. You work with stored procedures collection, we can dock the environment into the control. Now we've got just stored procedures. The whole screen is just stored procedures to look at, and we can edit them. Edit a stored procedure alongside a copy of itself. You can see I had added a comment here. Of course, you get any stored procedure text too, and change the code around. Now I run it, the procedure gets updated, and if I look at it again, I have the other comments right there too. Because this application is written entirely in SQL, it gives us the ability to write, in addition to powerful tasks on SQL Server, a new generation of relation applications that are written entirely in SQL.